Hi and welcome back to my channel and our Valentine's Day series. For this project, we are going to recreate this outfit from the Nanny. So let's get started with the first project. To start the turtleneck, I chained a chain of 28. I skipped the first 2 stitches and half double crocheted in the 3rd stitch from the hook and half double crocheted in each stitch to the end of the chain. Then, for the rest of the turtleneck, I half double crocheted in back loops only for 33 rows. And just in a sec, I will show you all how to create a half double crochet in the back loops only if you are not familiar. To complete your half double crochet, you'll yarn over, insert the head of your hook into your stitch, yarn over again, pull the second loop up and off the hook, yarn over again, pull the last 3 loops up and off. I struggled a bit, but yeah. Okay, so I finished both my front piece and my back piece. So for my front piece, I chained 44, and for my back piece, I chained 47. So it's a difference of 3 stitches. It's just because typically your back is a little bit bigger in expanse than your front, and I do want this to be pretty cropped and rest under my breast. But if I was scared that if I made the back piece like too short, it would kind of strain a bit and pull it up even higher than I wanted to. To account for this difference in the lengths, I'm just gonna double up the stitches that I crochet into when I connect it here. To connect these together, you're gonna connect the working sides to each other, right? So match them up, right? This is the chain side that I did, and this is the last rows that I crocheted. I actually didn't cut off my yarn. And I am going to attach, as you can see, this is my chain 2 to start that last row. So I'm going to put the head of my needle through here, slip stitch. I'm going to honestly just single crochet it together. And this is, we're working from the bottom, right? So I'm going to crochet up to the point on these sides where I want my sleeves to start. But I'm also going to show you guys how I'm doing this to take into account also that they're not quite even. Okay, so as I go into this next stitch, this is the longer side that I have on the back. This is the shorter side. So I've picked up a loop for the next stitch from the shorter side. And I'm actually going to single crochet these next 2 stitches together. So I'm going to take the loop of this one and then also pick up the loop of this next one. And treat, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to treat these middle 3 loops as one, pull it over as the first step of my single crochet, and then do my single crochet. I'm going to do that 2 more times. In there. So it's going to force these sides to obviously cinch up, but the rest of the middle of the back right is going to hang longer to account for the difference that I made. They're just going to stretch, and that's also why the beauty of doing this rib stitch is you have a lot of stretch. So it shouldn't pull your top too taut, and the difference I made between the front and the back is not significant enough to do so. And then we are also just going to continue single crocheting as regular after we did those 3 single crochet togethers. Up to the point where my sleeve starts. So I'm actually using a fitted cropped long sleeve top that I already have to help me determine where I start my sleeves, and also help me determine how big I made these front pieces. So I'm gonna measure that against there, and instead of having to just try on the top, I'm just gonna measure it there and stop at the point where the sleeves start on that top. To attach the turtleneck to the rest of my sweater, which as you can see, I'm still working on the other sleeve, so just disregard that we've got one sleeve here and not the other sleeve there. We're taking a break from the sleeves and moving to the turtleneck. I'm actually going to go ahead and turn my sweater inside out so that right sides are facing. What I suggest you do is basically count how many stitches you should have around the neckline, but we're gonna line those up and then just go ahead and single crochet this bottom edge to the top edge here. I've got 33 rows for the turtleneck, and I've got 42 for the neckline as a whole here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off. I'm just gonna match the edges with the edges where I joined my sleeves together, or the front of the bodices together to create the sleeve and the neckline. And make sure to tuck your ends as you go. I'm going to slip stitch and then chain 1. Now my turtleneck has less rows than the neckline, but basically I insert my hook, also tucking my ends into the edge of this next row. I find another row, the other row here, and bring them together. And that is how I single crochet both sides together. And you are going to do that all around. Okay, so to avoid doing math, I just went ahead and got a stitch marker. I've already connected this far end of the far right corner of my cowl to this side of the neckline. And I took the stitch marker, I folded this in half so that I can see where it has to align. So this is my last row, and it needs to align right here where I started my, where I attached the turtleneck. And that also shows me where this kind of halfway point needs to be on this other side of the neckline. So I just went ahead and took a stitch marker and connected them there so that I know that once I reach here, it will just line up perfectly and make it easier for you to know how to single crochet into each row along the way. So you don't really have to do math, you can just kind of single crochet or hand sew it together. Yes, this is my lazy way because I'm mentally drained. Okay, and now I have single crocheted all the way around. Both sides are connected. It looks beautiful. And now we've reached this point where we just have to connect both sides of the snoot. So I just got back all the way around to my first slip stitch and chain 1. I'm actually just gonna go ahead, make sure and put the head of my needle through this V right here on the opposite side, and then connect it back through there. Do you see? Take my ends, tuck them, or push them to the front so that I can tuck them. Use these 2 loops as my middle loop, pull it over, yarn over again, pull over the last 2, and then continue single crocheting all the way up the side just like that. So to do the sleeves, I'm going to just reuse footage from my last project because I do the sleeves on every single one of my shirts or sweaters the same way. So I'm going to slip stitch. Usually I prefer to slip stitch at that last stitch from where I connected my front bodice piece to my back bodice piece. So I usually will literally slip stitch right into that single crochet. And then chain 2, and you're going to place double crochets all around this gap that has been created for your sleeve once you connected the front and back bodice pieces. So the main struggle with creating a sleeve is the fact that you're not going to have clear cut stitches to crochet into. So you're crocheting usually on the sides of the rows. So as I did half double crochets, I usually kind of measured out for 1/2 double crochet per each row end, if that makes sense. And for my cropped turtleneck sweater, I ended up having 50 stitches around at the end, and I didn't do any increases because 50 stitches was the perfect width for me, and it made it a cute fit. And I'm gonna switch the footage of me actually crocheting on the cropped turtleneck so you can see how the sleeve looked as it was being made, and also to see the final fit. And here I am just showing you, I have slip stitched here, right where the two sides of the front bodice meet, chain 2, double crocheted around, and now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 2, and just continue going around. For this sleeve in particular, I actually am not really going to do any increase. I made this first sleeve here just 50 stitches around in circumference, and so this is like 48, so I will add 2 stitches to make it equal, and other than that there will be no increase. I will just keep going around and around and around for 40 rows. To start off, you're going to need to take 2 measurements. The first measurement you're going to need to take is where you want your skirt to rest on your waist. So I've got my measuring tape here. Gonna pull it nice and taut. I am at about 27.5 inches for the smallest part of my waist, where I want my skirt to rest. And then you're going to measure the widest part of your waist, which is around your hips, which will be around your bum. And your last measurement will be the length that you want your skirt to fall. So for me, I measured from my belly button down to about where I would want my skirt to hit on my thighs. So it ended up being, I think, around 13.5 to 14 inches, and this is going to factor into your calculation. So I created this skirt by doing rows of squares on top of each other. I had 4 rows of squares in total by the end, and each row of squares is going to gradually increase in size with your waist and hip measurements. So for this first row of squares, I only did 5 squares. This is of note because for the rest of the rows, I am doing 6 squares. Part of that is to match up with the photo. As you can see, there's 3 checks in front, so I just logically inferred that there are probably 3 checks in back. So for the whole skirt, I did want it to be 6 squares total, and I recommend you do your measurements to accommodate 6 squares. But for this first one, because it's going to rest on the narrowest part of your hips, I measured my squares to be such a size so that I could lace up that back part so it could kind of cinch in more, as opposed to the skirt being like a one-sized 2.
No, if I invite it's gates if you say yes, oh, I'll give thanks if you say no. I was young, but I'm not gonna love it. I know by loving. I used to love you. You tried to play me and then persuade me. I still remember the pain you gave me. I can't believe you. I gotta leave you. I'm backing up and you can hit the road, Jack. You can't take these things that you gave me. Cause I'm never coming back. I love all for you. And you don't appreciate the things that I do. That I do. All of the time. You blew my mind. I let you do me wrong 'cause love had me so high. Yeah, show. All for you. And you don't appreciate the things that I do. That I do. All of the time. You blew my mind. I let you do me wrong 'cause love had me so
Okay, so once you've crocheted the seam all the way up, you've got this gap here where we have that missing square from the first row. So now we are actually going to set to decreasing so that we can kind of create a triangle shape to make the top end meet. So starting up at this top corner of this square here, we are going to single crochet down and around. And we are going to decrease as we go. So the decreasing pattern that I'm going to be using for this first row is going to be single crochet in the next 4 stitches and then single crochet 2 together at that 5th stitch. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm doing my 5th single crochet, and then I'm going to show you how I do the single crochet 2 together. So I put the head of my hook into my next stitch. Alright, I pull that top loop over the first step of a single crochet, but instead of finishing it, I'm actually going to go into my next stitch, yarn over again, pull that top loop over as if we're starting the single crochet. Now I have 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, I'm going to pull through all 3, and that is how you complete the single crochet 2 together. So repeat this all the way around, down the side, across this top square for that second row, and then up here, and we will meet back again. Okay, so we have reached the top of this other side, and we're going to chain 1 and turn and continue our decrease pattern. But for this row, we are going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then single crochet 2 together. Repeat that all the way to the top of basically to the end, so till we reach this point over here. And so you're going to keep decreasing after this, and as you can see the pattern, you will just decrease the amount of stitches that you single crochet into before you single crochet two together by one each row. And keep doing this until you see that you've kind of cinched in that back portion just enough so that we can crochet both sides together, and it should be nice and fitted at your uh, waist portion. Okay, so I've just finished my last row of decrease, and as you can see, it should create kind of like this U shape. My skirt is still inside out, and so I'm going to bring both sides together, as you can see, and we are going to slip stitch it together all the way down this little seam that it creates. So I've slip stitched my very top stitch together, and now I'm just going to find where these stitches meet up and keep slip stitching all the way down, and then you will cut off your yarn. And it should have a nice snug fit so that you can have the bodycon look. Last slip stitch, and it should be done. And this is how it will look when you turn it inside out. So obviously it looks a bit, it's going to look a bit strange, right, when it's not on the body, but once it's on, it is going to fit really, really cute and very snug at the back. And I'm so sorry for this ghetto filming, y'all. I've been working on this and other projects simultaneously, so, you know. Okay, and the last step is I did go ahead and add a small piece of ribbon that is a little bit long to kind of help cinch it in a little bit more. Just to, because there is that little gap there, just to pull it together. So I entered it in about here. Went back through the single crochet nearest my little white patch where I did my decrease, and then did the same. Go over when you're entering it on the other side, so that when you put it through, I skipped about 2 double crochet for this black square. It comes out, and then you can pull it and tie it into a little bow. It's really cute. And then I turn it around, and yeah.
I was young, but I'm not gonna